in that I've always been just a big nerd. I love numbers. I love spreadsheets. And so over the last few years, my husband and I actually went through our own debt-free journey, paid off something ridiculous like $75,000 worth of debt over the course of a few years. And in that process, I just really fell in love with the idea of debt freedom and the idea of financial freedom. And I started helping friends and family, like, with tips and principles and like, try this, do this first, do this in this order. And I started seeing them like get amazing results. And I was like, I have to do this for everybody, because it doesn't matter who you are or what your life situation is. There's always more that you can accomplish. And I always say, my Facebook group is your money journey. Money is a journey. There's always a next step. There's always more to be done. There's always something else you can accomplish. I actually heard a call the other day that was like, I was like, I have too much money. What do I do? And it was like, hey, you do this. You start charitable giving and like start just participating in things, or you can start this for the next generation. Like, there's always something else to do. So I love that. And I love talking to people about it. And so when Jariel approached me about kind of collaborating with her community about people who are looking to start a family or grow their family, I was so excited, because I actually just had a baby. I have an almost 1-year-old. She'll be 1 next week. Yeah. And so I have recently been through, oh my gosh. So I've recently been through this, like, how do we make sure that we are financially ready to have a baby? And then how do we prepare for baby's arrival? And then what do we do after that to make sure we can manage? We joked last time about how I'm about to save so much money because we're not going to be doing formula anymore. Really excited.
We had the same party. Yeah.
So I'm super excited to get to share some tips. So like Jariel said, our part 1, we talked about before you even start thinking about planning a family, things to think about. So that now we're going to talk about, you're already pregnant or you're already expecting. So maybe you are already registered with an adoption agency and you could get a call any day now, right? So like, you're expecting to grow your family soon, and things to start thinking about. And so I'm going to echo something I said in part 1, which is thinking about what you want life to look at like after baby comes. Yes. Because it impacts everything. So if you are, like I said last time, in the United States, we are afforded 12 weeks of unpaid leave. Basically, they allow us to keep our job for 12 weeks. It's not the ideal, but that's what is allowed. Some companies offer more than that. My company gave me 2 weeks paid, and then the other 10 weeks. So make a decision. Are you taking the full 12 weeks? Are you going to take 6? Are you going to take 10? What are you going to take? So that you can then plan ahead and save to cover the expenses that you're going to have during that time when you're not getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting a paycheck. And so this is where the hashtag Stork mode really comes in. We always say, once you know you're pregnant or you know you're expecting, you go into Stork mode. You stop all savings and investing, stop all extra debt payoff. So pay the minimum, obviously, don't get behind on anything. But take every extra dime and dollar you have and put it into a savings account. That way, multiple things you can do with that savings. One is, let's say you have a complicated birth, or unfortunately you end up with a NICU stay, or you end up with a C-section and you're in the hospital for 4 days instead of 2, and you end up with a higher bill than you expected. Now you've got some cash saved up, right? Let's say that's one of the big things is like, what if medical expenses end up being higher than you expected? You've got some cash saved. The other thing is, there might be just supplies or things you didn't think about in the first couple of weeks, or expenses that come up again while you don't have a paycheck that you can cover with this money that you have saved. Here's the beautiful part about that. When you get to the end of your maternity leave, your 6 weeks or 10 weeks or 12 weeks, and you go back to work and you start getting a paycheck again, if you've got money left over in that savings chunk, you haven't gotten behind. You can just throw it towards debt, throw it back in savings, whatever you were doing with your finances before, just put your extra money back into that. It's fine, but it keeps you from going further into debt. It keeps you from stressing about the situation. We are on TRICARE. We didn't have any medical expenses. And we actually just tightened our budget and lived on my husband's income. And so all of the money we saved in Stork mode, we literally just like took it and put it in savings and then moved on with our life. We didn't actually really touch any of it. So
wow.
It's just about how you plan. So that's the first thing, is know how much time you're going to take off and start saving for expenses that you're going to incur after delivery, and especially if you are on unpaid time. If you live in Europe and you get lots of time paid, then that's amazing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, there's a couple of things. Thinking about what you're stocking up on. A lot of people like to stock up. I've actually heard people say, I just buy a pack of diapers every month while I'm pregnant. So not a bad thing. It spreads out your expenses, but be really smart about what you're stocking up on, because as anyone who's ever had a baby can tell you, those newborn diapers get real small real fast.
They don't fit. Yeah.
A week, maybe.
Yeah.
A week, maybe. And so don't stock up on newborn. Stock up on a little bit of newborn, couple of ones, maybe some twos, but don't stock up on newborn anything, because you're just not going to use it for very long.
Yeah.
You're just not. You can put your baby in a onesie that's a little big. You can't put him in one that's too small.
Exactly. Yeah.
So be smart about that, so there's no waste, so you don't have a bunch of things left over. In the same sense, when you're thinking about what you're registering for, because baby registry and baby showers, virtual showers, whatever needs to happen.
Right.
Be smart about what you're registering for. I actually went to a friend's registry today, and I think she's going to watch this. So if she's watching, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hassle you. And she has this adorable outfit on there that is for the 4th of July, and it's a 12-month outfit. So it's literally for next year. And I'm like, nope. So don't register for things that baby can't use or that you can't use, right? If you can't use it within the first 3 to 6 months, then you can buy it later, or they can get it for their birthday or something along those lines, right? Stock up and register for, let people bless you with the things you are going to need soon. I will tell you, when I go to baby showers, my standard is a pack of size 2 diapers and a gift card to Target. Because that way I'm not getting them something they may not be able to use for very long, and I'm getting them a gift card so that they can get whatever they need, because something's going to come, right? And so think about that when you're on your registry as well, is be smart about, let people bless you with the things that you are going to need right away, so that you don't get stressed out and end up putting $2,000 worth of supplies on your credit card because you weren't thinking, and you got outfits for a year from now, but you don't have, crib sheets.
Right.
So that's that. I'm just looking at my list so I don't forget anything. So speaking of crib sheets, remember, especially if you're tight on a budget. If you're not super tight on a budget, no big deal, do what you want. But if you're tight on budget, remember that the nursery is for mama. The decorations in the nursery are for mama, not for the baby. The baby does not care what color the walls are, or what color the sheets are, or how comfortable the rocking chair is. Now, mind you, the rocking chair is important. Get a comfortable one. But don't feel like you have to spend all of this money just to make this perfectly chic, Pinterest perfect nursery, because baby's not going to remember. My daughter is just now 1, and she doesn't play in her room. Like, we do bedtime and nap in there, and that's pretty much it. And so we didn't really go all out. We used a lot of the things we had. We actually built our own little bench/bookshelf. So like, you can you stack books in it, but then we also created a cushion to sit on, so it's like a bench and then books underneath. So we built it ourselves, and it cost like a total of $30 or something ridiculous like that. Super cheap. So don't feel like you need to have designer everything, because that room is for you and not really for baby. Function over design is super important. Function over fashion. So does that make sense so far? Questions about that stuff? Because the next one we're going to kind of shift a little bit, and then take questions.
I'll let people ask questions, and I'll ask a question as well. So as far as like when you're thinking about how much money you want to save, right? So we know for sure, okay, we're expecting we're going to have a baby like in 9 months or less at this point. And when we start to think about, okay, we want to put away money now, how much or like what percentage of your paycheck should you be putting away? Or like, what's the goal for what you're saving? Like, should it be 3 or 4 paychecks like that you're aiming at putting in your savings account? Like, what does that target really look like?
Yeah, so you can go by paychecks if that's kind of what you're looking at. If you're like, okay, I'm going to be off for 4 paychecks, it's 8 weeks, then try to have 4 paychecks in there. That's hard for some people. So if you're tightening your budget down pretty well, and especially if you have your short-term disability set up where you're getting 50% of your pay or 60 or 70% of your pay, you don't necessarily need to save that full. So you can do it that way where you look at how much time am I going to be off and let me just replace that money. But the other thing you can do is you can actually look at while I'm off, what actual expenses am I going to have for the baby? And you can look at that too. So again, where you think about what do you want life to look like after baby comes? Are you disposable diapering? Because that's $25 to $35 a pack, depending on what you get. And you're going to go through 8 to 12 diapers a day, especially in the first month. And then are you formula feeding? Because formula can get super expensive, especially if your baby ends up on a specialty formula. So we, because we had the room in our budget, we ended up doing the ready to feed. So the pre-mixed liquid, already liquid formula. And that stuff's way expensive. It's like $8 a bottle. And then, of course, once she's almost one, she's drinking a whole bottle a day, right? So $8 a day. We're going to save so much money. I'm so excited. But if you're powder feeding, you can get through a lot more on less, which is nice. And so just think about that. How much am I going to need? What are my expenses going to be on a regular recurring basis? And maybe save up a couple months of those expenses so that, no matter what, you've got what you need to take care of baby. And then you can kind of tighten down your own budget and not go out to eat. And trust me, you're not going out to eat in the first month anyways.
And maybe with the pandemic, maybe not longer than that. So
I know. And I actually just thought of this, another thing you can do that will help you save money. And it's saving money not from an actual, but from a behavioral, is pre-plan and prep meals.
Meal planning and prep.
Of stuff. We froze a bunch of Instant Pot meals that we could just throw in the Instant Pot and turn it on for 20 minutes. And then you can also see if a friend will start a meal train for you where people can bring you meals. And what that does, again, it's not, yes, you're going to pay the same amount for groceries that you would have paid, but what it will stop you from doing is calling and ordering pizza. When you're tired and you don't like cooking, it'll keep you from spending $40 on pizza. You'll have a frozen meal you can throw in. So think ahead about meals and kind of planning ahead for that to keep you from doing that impulse, like, oh, I feel like it.
Okay, Nicole, 2 more questions before we move on. Question 1, do you advise people to dip into their 401k and take money out in order to pay for some things to plan and prepare for their baby, like nursery, or maybe they want to purchase a doula, or maybe they want to do like the newborn maternity shoot, like that sort of stuff? And then question 2, if people are in a situation where they don't have enough money to even meet the next payday, what do you advise as far as that? Because some people will say there's no money left after I get paid and there's nothing to go into savings, so I can't really save for my family.
Sure. 2 extremes. So first, I'll address the 401k. So when you take money out of your 401k, you're immediately taxed at a 20% tax bracket, regardless of what your tax bracket is. So that's one. Number 2, you're given a 10% penalty. So immediately you lose 30% of whatever you pulled out of your 401k, not to mention all of the money that you would have gained in interest on that money over the next however long, because you're removing it and you're not earning on it. It is a massive, massive hit that you're going to take to your long-term future, and it is almost never worth it. The only time we recommend to pull money out of your 401k is if it prevents you from going into bankruptcy or foreclosure, and that's it. Okay. It's the only time we recommend it, because it's just such a big hit. And you're robbing from your future, and it's just not worth it. Now,
you're
if you are
really curious, I knew what your answer was going to be, but I thought I would ask.
I'm like a 90% DR purist. There's a couple of things we shift on, but everybody's situation is different. But yeah. So no, it's just not. You're taking too much of a hit on that money for it to be worth a crib.
Okay, so 30% is what you're losing plus all the money in the future. So no 401k dip. Okay.
No, definitely not. Now, if you have money that's invested in non-retirement savings, so if you just have regular old mutual funds, or if you just have a big chunk in a savings fund somewhere, then that is, you can make that decision of whether you want to pull some money out of that. If it's in mutual funds, you might have a little bit of capital gains tax, but it's nothing like the penalties on pulling money out of retirement early. So don't pull it out of retirement because it's too much of a penalty. But if you do have some non-retirement savings that you want to dip into because you don't have any other way, then definitely do that. Or definitely decide with your partner whether or not that looks like the right thing. I'm not against that.
Okay.
Now, if you are in a paycheck to paycheck situation where you get to the end of one paycheck and you are on 24 cents until the next paycheck comes, which I know and I've seen. The first thing is obviously to look at your budget. What are you spending money on that is a want and not a need? And in this situation, when we're talking about you're about to have a baby, you need more money to be able to cover X, Y, and Z. Of course, you have options for things like WIC and Medicaid. Definitely look into those because you can get free formula and things like that. Make sure that you have applied and that you have what you need as far as those resources and those community resources.
Yeah.
The best way to look at your budget and make decisions about what needs to be cut, and this is going to be super harsh, so I apologize, is you need to say, it is more important that I pay my cell phone bill than that I can buy my baby diapers. Okay. And you go, oh, I don't like it, right? Your gut and your heart will be like, I can't say that. That's not true. I can't say it's more important that I have this cell phone and this plan than that I can buy diapers, right? And so it feels harsh to do it that way, but it's the easiest way to find things that come up. You may be able to say, it's more important to me that I get my hair done than that I can make sure my baby is fed. You're like, I'll put it in, I'll put it back, right?
It's more so that's how you differentiate a want from a need, is by putting it into that sentence and seeing if it aligns with.
Especially in this situation, align it with priorities. So once you've done that, let's say you've done that, you've cut a couple things, you've got a little bit of money, but you still don't really feel like you have enough to cover your expenses, then the next thing to do is to get a second job. And that is super hard, especially when you're pregnant, especially if you're sick when you're pregnant. So if you have a partner, then your partner can get a second job. But even something like delivering pizzas a couple nights a week can make you $1,000 to $1,500 a month, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't feel like a lot, but when it's extra and it's in addition to what you have, then it makes a massive difference. I know people that can make $500 driving for Uber. And so even just that extra couple $100 can make a huge difference. And so there's just a mindset shift sometimes that has to happen about getting a second job, where you have to go, what would happen in my world financially if I had an extra $500 a month? What would it be like? How would it feel if I had an extra $1,000 a month? And start thinking about that. Now, if this is not your first child and you have childcare consideration, then just start looking into what would that look like? Who could I get to watch my child for 4 hours so I could go to an evening job? How would we make that work? And just start doing your research on that to try to make that work. But typically getting a second job, even picking up odd jobs, like, hey, can I watch your kid for a couple hours, or anything like that, that brings in extra cash, and then you just pile all of that up. It's hard work, it's sacrifice, but ultimately it's worth it to be able to not only take care of your family, but also to not dig yourself a deeper hole when you're trying to, move forward with things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then let's talk about what you wanted to discuss in the next part of Stork Mode Part 2. What comes after?
So it works out because I actually just mentioned it. This is something that I see people mention a lot, and that is childcare. They don't look into it before they have their baby. They forget to think about it. They forget to look at how much it is. And so make sure that you are looking into childcare. When your child can start. Let's say you've decided you're going to have an 8-week maternity leave, but there's not a single daycare or nanny in the area that will take a baby under 3 months. Right? So that's something to think about. You have to really know, are you going to be able to have somebody to watch your child if you go back to work? What's that going to look like? And then how much is that going to cost you?
Yeah.
So
and also if there's a wait list. Sometimes people have wait lists, and the wait list could be months long, and you're not aware of that until you go for the tour and sign up, and then you're like, oh, we can't get in here for 8 weeks. Okay. Yeah.
Be aware, most places will let you get on the wait list when you're pregnant, like without a name, without a birthday, without any of that. They'll put you on the wait list still. So definitely get on the wait list as soon as possible. Yeah. I was on a wait list by the time I was like 2 months pregnant.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can get on the wait list while you're expecting. So you can do that in the first trimester. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And so when you're thinking about childcare, a lot of people will choose to stay home because their paycheck and their childcare are identical. So you're literally only working to pay childcare, and at that point, it's like, why, right?
Yeah.
And so this is, again, where just start to think and dream about what do you want life to look like after, and that helps guide some of your financial decisions. Even there are people who will work one job to pay childcare and then another job to pay bills, right? And so it's hard. Yeah. So start doing your research. Look into nannies, look into babysitters, look into daycares, do price comparisons, and interview people. And don't let yourself get to that 2-month mark where you need a nanny now and you haven't even looked into it. And now you're settling for somewhere where you don't feel comfortable leaving your child. So always start early doing the childcare thing. Okay. I will tell you, for me, we did sign up for a daycare pretty early, but we knew the wait list was like 1.5 years long. So we weren't expecting to get in there right away. But when I had my baby, I was actually working from home. So it was like, no big deal. I'll work from home. I'll work between naps. Like it's no big deal. And then I quit that job, and then I needed a new job, and then I needed childcare. And so it was like, we kind of, and like the first nanny we had, we weren't really comfortable with. And so, about 4 weeks later, we were like, hey, we're going to shift over to this one. And so just really important to think about those things ahead of time, because it will guide your financial decisions about work and things like that. And I also just want to, this just popped into my head, and I want to encourage everybody, don't ever feel like the income you are at is the only income you'll ever be able to get, or that you couldn't possibly get something better than that. Because I promise you, if you look and you're open to it, you could possibly find something with a little bit better income. And that makes it feel a little bit better to be able to go back to work and still pay for childcare. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's always evolving, your financial journey, for sure. Yeah. Okay.
For sure. I feel like, then the last thing is things like, we talked about this ahead of time, just thinking about like health insurance and what you want your birth to look like. But once you actually are expecting, it's time to start actually planning for those things. So what you want your birth to look like, if you've already determined, hey, I'm not going to be able to, my insurance doesn't cover birth centers, but I really want a birth center, then that's when or you could have saved ahead of time, but if you haven't, make sure that you have enough saved to cover the birthing at the birth center. If you really want a doula, which I highly recommend, I had a doula and it was wonderful, then make sure that you have researched, that you've interviewed your doulas, that you know who you want to have with you at that time and how much they cost. A lot of doulas also offer things like prenatal classes and even postnatal classes. So just know what's available to you and start saving up for those things. The thing is, and like I said the first time, the only goal here is to never be surprised by any of the expenses that you have popping up. Don't let yourself be surprised by it. Plan ahead, know what's there, and save up for it.
Okay.
And then I think that the only other thing is adoption, remembering that adoption can happen very suddenly. So portion out and like think about, what do I need to have already available when I'm not even placed yet? And then what am I going to need to get within a week? and make sure you kind of have the cash for the things that you're going to need to get right away. Because of course you might have a crib and a nursery set up, and then you get the call and you're like, I have no diapers, I have no formula, I have no anything. So make sure you have a car seat, make sure you have the cash available for the things you're going to need to get right away that you may not have already.
Oh, okay. Okay, I love that tip. Was there anything else that we wanted to cover on part 2 of Stork Mode for everyone right now who is in the process of expecting to have a little one in their home in the next 9 months or less? What do they need to know to prepare? We gave a pretty comprehensive list of tips just now, but was there anything else?
I didn't have anything else on my list. I think the big thing again is just be smart about what you're buying and stocking up for and registering. Don't get anything you don't need right away. Let people bless you with the stuff you need. And then don't let yourself be surprised by your expenses. Plan ahead, look into things, do your research, and especially for childcare, because that will hit you hard because childcare is not cheap, and it shouldn't be, but it's still not cheap.
Yeah, it's still shocking how not cheap it is. Okay, so Nicole gave us a really, really awesome part 2. Again, part 1 is on Facebook on the Your Birth Network page. So if you go to Facebook, type in Your Birth Network, scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to see the initial conversation for Stork Mode part 1. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us through part 2. And thank you so much, Nicole, for being our financial expert and our guide through part 2. I would love for you to just take a moment to tell everybody about where they can find you online, any courses or ebooks or offers that you have available right now that they can take advantage of.
Sure. So I have a private Facebook community where I just give education and encouragement, and you can share your story. And it's called Your Money Journey with Nicole Weaver. So just look up Your Money Journey. It's a bright purple banner. You can't miss us. And then you also can go to my website, which is just www.nicoleweaver.com. So it's NICHOLEWEAVER. And on there, you can schedule a free consult. I do completely free consults. In those, I will, ask you what's going on in your situation. I'll give you some free action steps and things. I never want you to leave feeling like you didn't get anything. Don't feel like you left going somewhere. So I'll always give you some action steps, and we can talk about whether private coaching is good. So free consults, ask your questions, whatever you need. There's also a contact form on there that you can send me a question if you need to. As far as offerings right now, all of my coaching packages are on sale to the end of the month. So if you just want to grab 3 sessions or 6, we can do that, and it's on sale till the end of the month. Then the other thing is I have a program. And again, if you go to just my Facebook, or if you go to our group, you'll see it. And actually, I'll post it on my Instagram too. I just haven't gotten that far yet today. Called Debtbusters, which is you're going to get 2 1-hour calls with me. You're going to get a customized cash flow and debt reduction plan. You're going to get unlimited text access to me for 90 days. You're going to get a debt snowball set up and optimized to make sure you get out of debt the best way, most efficient way. And 10% off all of coaching packages in the future for 6 months after your last call. So it's really great. Basically, the goal here is to jump in feet first, get fully clear on your action steps, get fully clear on your plan to get out of debt, and then start taking action toward that process. And spouses are always free. And so it's this one cost for one person, and it's the same if the spouse wants to come to the call. So spouses are always free, and it's just $197 for 2 calls, unlimited access, a discount in the future, the debt snowball, the cash flow plan, all of that, $197. So if you are interested in that, shoot me a message through my website or through my group, anything.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to our session that we have this weekend with me and my family. And I want to thank you so much, Nicole, for lending us your time and expertise. Part 2 of Stork Mode was fantastic. Definitely watch out for part 3. We're going to talk about what to do if your family has already grown and you would still like to make some plans in order to get ahead financially. So look out for that. We'll have that coming at you soon. And thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Definitely DM us any questions that you have. If you want more information, make sure to visit NicoleWeaver.com. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Thank you again, Nicole. Bye.
Bye.
Everyone, welcome and welcome back to the Your Birth Network page. Happy hump day, happy Wednesday. Elated today because we get to chat with Winged and Whisked. She is a organizational and productivity coach, and she helps expecting moms transition into full-fledged motherhood. I'm helping them all the way from like pregnancy all the way through postpartum. And so she has helped a couple of her clients plan like virtual baby showers. She's all about gift registries, things that you need and things that you don't need, helping expecting moms to like get rid of like the overwhelm and just to really be there as a support system and as a guide and to really coach people through the process. So I'm excited to talk to her today. I will let her introduce herself and her business in just a moment. I just wanted to thank everybody who is coming in right now. Hey, Matthew, thank you for joining live. I really appreciate you. Wanted to let everyone know that I do have a link in my bio, and I am the face behind Your Birth Network. I am the founder and lead doula. My name is Jarielle Campbell. I'm so excited to have everyone here joining us live. This platform is one in which I just want to empower and inspire and share information with expecting and new parents. I want your transition from adulthood to parenthood to be successful. I want it to be blissful. And I just want there to be a really safe space for you to come and get whatever it is that you need across the area of transitioning, right? Because it's a big role to transition into being a parent. So I want everyone to know a couple of things before we get started. One, I do have a link in my bio that has some awesome free gifts. First free gift is an invitation for expecting moms to join the Birth Talk with Your Birth Network Facebook community. So that's link number one. Link number two, if you are an expecting parent that wants to have a natural labor, I do have a 15-page ebook that will be a resource guide for you. So that way you don't have to search all over Google and all over Facebook to find out how to achieve your goal of having a natural labor. I have outlined it all in the ebook for you, and you can check that out at the second button in the link in my bio. The third button is going to be a postpartum checklist. So if you want to find out what you need to purchase in order to heal at home after you have your baby, and a couple of conversations that you may want to start with your healthcare provider, definitely check out button number 3. If you could use them all, definitely take them all. I also want to send a special thank you to